The Speaker of the House has himself a race. We just don't know who it's going to be.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
That would be Nick Mattiello, the Speaker of the Rhode Island House, District 15 in Cranston. He would love to have no candidate running against him because there are so many incumbents still that will have that advantage. However, he will have to find some strategy to battle the primary winner because the Republicans have two candidates, and you're going to meet one of them tonight. Nice to have you aboard. Welcome into my State of Mind on this, what is it, Wednesday evening, hump day, hump night. Let's go to the rundown. And, oh, man, I mean, really? Listen, by the way, some of the video in here is a little tough to watch, so I just want to warn you on that. In this day and age, we actually watch terrorists blow up themselves, I guess, or blow themselves up. Here's the headline. This is tough. You know, we had American Airlines, I mean, not the American Airlines, but we had flights from Istanbul to America lifting off just proximate to this attack. It is an international travel world. This is not way out there. Istanbul, Turkey is a place where a lot of tourists come and go from America. This is not something that we can't be concerned about or can, in other words, ignore. Here's the latest.
Travelers and workers raced to safety just moments before one of several explosions ripped through the airport in Istanbul. Another video shows an attacker on the ground after police apparently shot him. Seconds later, he blew himself up.
He opened his shirt. There was a bomb here. Yeah, he went down, and after, I guess, 1 minute maybe explode.
U.S. intelligence sources say the terrorists were armed with grenades, suicide vests, and automatic weapons. The assailants opened fire at the entrance to the international terminal. Dozens were killed and more than 200 people were wounded. President Obama called Turkey's president to offer condolences and promised America's support in the investigation. Airports around the world immediately beefed up security following the attacks that Turkish authorities are blaming on ISIS. Just this week, the U.S. State Department warned U.S. citizens about increased threats from terrorist groups throughout Turkey and to avoid travel to southeastern Turkey. Now that's raising questions about what authorities may have known ahead of the attack.
Certainly seems to suggest that there was additional information available to the U.S. government and certainly to the Turks that there were threats.
The airport in Istanbul has reopened as investigators try to determine if anyone may have helped the bombers.
It just goes to show how hard this is. If they've got information that something's coming, they got to be looking all over Kingdom Come for something coming. That's what this battle is all about. And of course, Donald tries to simplify it, doesn't he?
We have to stop it. We have to be so strong. We have to fight so viciously and violently because we're dealing with violent people, vicious people. He said, I like it a lot, and I don't think it's tough enough. So we can't do waterboarding, but they can do chopping off heads, drowning people in steel cages. They can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, they don't have a constitution, Mr. Trump. And they don't have protocols. I don't know. In the meantime, Hillary's trying to position herself against Donald discussion of the terror.
I understand why people are frustrated and even fearful, but don't look for easy answers and misleading promises that cannot deliver what you're hoping for.
All right, so Hillary's got her own issues to deal with, right? So there's a Benghazi response that she offers to the GOP report yesterday. Here's the headline on that. Unscathed by the report, says the New York Times. The Washington Post goes even further and more or less suggests the Republicans came up empty. The latest from the network on that.
I think it's pretty clear it's time to move on.
Clinton, the State Department, and the White House all had the same take on the Benghazi committee Tuesday.
It had to today report it had found nothing.
The committee found something that we already knew.
We don't see anything new there.
But the committee's 7 Republicans insisted they found plenty that was new.
God knows nobody's ever reported who actually evacuated our folks.
The 800-page report revealed that in the absence of any military aid in Benghazi, embattled Americans were rescued that night by a group of Libyans who, ironically, had close ties to the former Gaddafi regime, the very regime the U.S. had helped remove from power.
Think about that for a second. The world's most powerful military did not meet a single solitary self-imposed timeline.
The Clinton campaign argued that the committee came down hard on the military's response because Republicans couldn't come up with the goods on her. Committee chair Trey Gowdy, a former prosecutor, took pains Tuesday to appear impartial.
You're the expert, so what do you think? Do you think she lied?
That's a word you couldn't use in a courtroom.
But two committee Republicans were more critical, suggesting that Clinton kept the Benghazi consulate open despite deteriorating security because she pushed for the U.S. to intervene in Libya in the first place.
Libya was supposed to be the crowning jewel of the Clinton State Department foreign policy and the Obama administration foreign policy. This was their example of how it works.
This report is provocative. It's also 800 pages long, and I doubt Americans are going to read it. And so you're going to rely on the media spin. And because there's no smoking gun, Hillary is not going to be harmed by this. But there's a lot to learn about the administration in general and how they approached this Libyan thing and what they were trying to get out of Libya and what they did to think more about politics than they did about security. And it ought to be a learning lesson for us on X number of levels, and I pray that it will be. But I think this more or less puts Hillary out there relatively unscathed, at least when it comes to new opinions and new folks who are going to jump on board blaming her from Benghazi. Those who do will continue to. Those who don't probably won't shift their thoughts. In the meantime, Bernie is still in this race, you know. He hasn't gotten out, even though he said he would vote for Hillary Clinton. Here's an op-ed piece where he says the Democrats need to wake up, and this is all about Brexit. And here are some of his thoughts. Take a look. Surprise, surprise. He talks about the decline of the standard of living in Britain. And then, of course, he cites some data about middle class earning in America, which is significantly less for men and women when you do the inflation-based 1973 computation. And then he talks about the global economy not being something that works very well. So, you know, Bernie has not yet gotten out. And there's a convention still to be had, and he still wants to have a voice there, no doubt. All righty, let's take the conversation home and meet our contestant. Literally, not just our guest, but our contestant. Here's the subject that caused us to first meet our guest. She was very active on this mandate for HPV. And then, of course, when this headline came, the second one, there we go, candidates filed to run. She is one of them, and Shawna Lawton from Cranston is here, lives in District 15, and is going to run against the Speaker. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be back.
You were, do you think you were successful with the HPV vaccine situation? That ended up, remind us, that ended up how? No real changes.
Everything was tabled.
Everything was tabled. The legislation that would eliminate the mandate for the kids to take that vaccine is still being held for further study, which could be a session or 10, depending on how much you're going to fight it. Are you going to continue to work on that issue?
I've taken a step back so that I can focus on my campaign. I'm still talking to the other women that are working on working in the alliance, but I have taken a step back at this point. You know, when we met, we had worked really hard as a group and managed to get 2 bills presented in the Senate and 3 in the House, and went and, you know, submitted testimony and spoke, and realized, I quickly realized that they weren't interested up there with what the people had to say. And
did that inspire you to think about running for office?
It did.
So the one issue that you're working on, this is not an unusual formula, by the way. You work very hard on something, get frustrated with what the General Assembly presents to you, and they say, you know what, I could be a change agent. That's your thinking?
That is my thinking. And the more and more I started to watch what was happening in the news, how the budget was passed, money that's being spent, taking on more debt. Hardworking people are not benefiting from any of that, and our voices aren't being heard. And you know, I really believe that he's not listening. Mr. Mattiello, my opponent, is not listening. He's a bit out of touch, and we need to have somebody representing District 15 that can represent, listen, and voice the concerns of the people in that district.
All right, we'll talk more about the controversy inside the primary, and of course some more thoughts on the speaker and what Shawna wants to accomplish. But I just want to remind you, if you were thinking about remodeling, kitchen or bath, I recommend these folks, Cumberland Kitchen and Bath Design Center. You know, most of us really focus on whether or not we want to do the kitchen. Sometimes the bathroom becomes a secondary consideration. Think about this though, if you renovate the bathroom and people like it when they visit the home, the value of the home increases. Now whether you're leaving or staying or just want to you know, puff things up, consider the traffic, the number of kids, what you really want to accomplish, have a thought process, and then let Cumberland Kitchen and Bath Design Center know. I can promise you that they will be on time and on budget. More with Shawna when we come back. Stay with us.
I have made no bones about it. I've told her. I said I overwhelmingly support Steve Frias for this race. There were no other contenders. I'm not trying to not give her a fair shot, but my support for Steve is unwavering in his run. I think he can win this seat. That's
Brandon Bell, the chairman of the Republican Party, who's not with Shawna, who is here running for the same seat in District 15. Here's a picture of Steve Frias, in case you're scoring at home, the guy that they're talking about. And Steve has been a longtime player in the Republican Party. He's kind of like a Cranston historian, pretty well known in the district. Lawyer, family guy. He's an interesting guy, kind of quirky. He's got some interesting, well, you'll meet him soon in the next week or two here. He announced first, you announced right behind him near the deadline this week. But your story is you've been thinking about this and have made it clear that you want to do this for months, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Talk to me about that and the timing and all this.
You know, I started thinking about it, talking with the women that I worked with in the group, and, you know, what do you think about this? And then I happened to be at the State House working with Sherry and was introduced to Patricia. And she and I started chatting, and I was, you know, telling her about my frustrations and how I respected her, Patricia Morgan,
right? And
how I respected the way that she's stood up, and we just started talking, and you know, she and I have talked along the way. I do have some friends that have been helping me, other than Patricia. Put some strategy together. We're still putting strategy together, still haven't decided on who my manager is, but you know, haven't given the particular person the title, but she's been someone that I could talk to and bounce ideas off of along the way.
Well, she concurs. She talked with me on the radio yesterday. Patricia Morgan and I had kind of a friendly battle over strategy, but she says, listen, I've been with this candidate right here.
I have trained her or worked with her like I have worked with many other candidates in our state, right? There are many candidates. She is one. I am working with all of them because I want them all to be strong and I want them all to win.
And Steve Frias, you know, talked to me as well a couple of days ago. There's a kind of an establishment feeling, you know, at least the GOP chairman and others, that he is the best candidate, and he spoke up about this contested primary.
My concern is Shawna is you know, doesn't have as much experience. I've already put in $25,000. My campaign account is open. I put in the $25,000. This is going to take money, and so I just said, I've got to do this. I know she may, you know, if she runs, that's her right. I'll have, you know, it'll make, I think it helps the speaker, this, you know, division. But I just think I'm the best candidate. I got the knowledge, I have experience, and I'll have the resources. I'll do the very best I can to shake that place up.
So your response to that is?
So he's been in Cranston, I don't know, 15 years or so on the council. 2 Republicans have been elected, and he wasn't involved in either of them. So you can say you've been involved, but what have you done
you're talking about the Republican committee.
Right,
you're not talking
for 25,
about the city council.
Right, for 25 years, past 15 years, two have been elected, and he wasn't involved in either of them. $25,000. Okay, well, we can spend $25,000. That's great that you want to put it in. This is a 70-day a year job. You get paid $15,000, and he's going to spend $25,000 and an additional $25,000
he'll look to raise and get that money out.
It's not fiscally conservative. He claims to be fiscally conservative. Come on.
Well, there's a big difference between campaign money and salary. You know that. I mean, Donald Trump's spending hundreds of millions of dollars of his own personal money to earn $175,000 or $400,000 as the president. I mean, I'm not so sure that works out. Look, you're going to have to raise $25,000, $30,000 in order to be competitive in this campaign.
There's no doubt. I have to raise some money, but I also intend to be out in the community and talking to the community. You know, a grassroots campaign, talking, having people believe in me, understanding that I'm a different choice. You're right. I haven't been in politics for a very long time, but I am innovative, and I do my research, and I will be a voice, and I know that I can be that voice.
All right, listen, you have every right in the world to run, and I know I've editorialized on the radio pretty strongly about how dumb I think it is for the Republicans not to have worked this thing out, because tearing down in a primary, stripping either one of your resources leaves you a little less ample for a general election. It also creates warts that can be exploited by the opponent, in this case the incumbent, who's got plenty of horsepower behind him, and money and talent and all that kind of thing. For now, your last word on that dynamic, that the primary is hurtful to either one of your chances to be able to beat the Speaker.
I disagree. I don't think it's hurtful. I think the Rhode Island GOP should get behind and should be excited that there are two people that are willing to step up and represent the district. And I don't disagree. I think both of us getting out in the community and letting people know who we are, why we're here, and what we hope to accomplish, the people will pick a winner.
Right. Yes, they will, one way or the other. So they'll have to decide on the issues more than anything else, and it might be a good idea to talk about a couple of them when we come back. Stay with us. Back with Shawna Lawton. She is running against Speaker Nick Mattiello, who, of course, we should show. He's the he's seen this guy around anywhere? He's smiling because he's got Republicans fighting each other in the District 15 primary. We'll be done with that over the course of time. I'm sure that you two are going to have a little bit of a battle. Interestingly enough, there may be only 1,000 or 1,500 people to decide whether or not you or Steve Frias have a chance to run against the Speaker of the House. It's the irony of Republic form of government that the most powerful position in the state of Rhode Island is actually elected by only a couple thousand people in the end. So we'll see what happens in the general election in terms of turnout. Your big issue, well, let me ask you this. Have you weighed the challenge of running in this district, trying to convince people that they should vote for you versus the Speaker, when the Speaker has been bringing home goodies, legislative grants, puffing up city government with money? I would think that there's some kind of agreement, wink and nod, between he and the mayor at this point. And by the way, Steve Frias is an ally of the mayor, so do some math on this. We'll be talking about that as we go. Have you thought about whether or not the people just like the fact that they've got a very powerful guy, in their district, and you would be the rookie elected in the legislature?
That's a great question. I don't know if it's that the people like a very powerful guy, and I understand that he's given money to, and I don't know numbers, but I understand that he's given money.
Well, he's brought six figures. He's brought 6 figures of legislative grants home, which in my humble opinion, is a complete abuse. The whole system of legislative grants is an abuse. But
I agree with you, but and people will be concerned if I am looking to be a proponent to eliminate the grants because of that money. But I feel if we looked at the budget and we looked at where money is being spent, there's wasteful spending in a lot of different areas that I think we can eliminate some of that spending, put some money back into the people of our district and the state of Rhode Island's pockets, and with the money that they will now have, we can look at supporting our community.
All right, you learned something from the HPV battle. What is it that you most learned and most sent you home on one night in 2016 and said, you know what, doggone it, I'm going to run? What is it?
That everyone was entirely influenced by the most powerful person up there, and they had completely shut down and weren't listening to the people. And I'll just give you a quick example of how I personally, as a constituent of District 15, felt that my voice was not being heard. My opponent had a meet and greet to talk about the issues and an opportunity for his constituents to come in and ask him the issues. He talked for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours he spoke, and then he started to open it up to the floor. We had to listen to him. We had to listen to the DOT. We had to listen to Hannah Gallo. We had to listen to, I don't know, there was many of them. People were leaving because it wasn't an opportunity to sit and have him hear our voice.
He's the speaker.
I understand.
I'm being facetious. That's part of the whole thing.
Then
the power is intoxicating. You know that. And I just don't know whether the district is intoxicated with the power. We'll see, right? You're going to have to cut through that, it seems to me. Do you really feel that on the ground, everyday people that you know on both sides of the aisle are ready to throw him out?
I do. I do.
And it comes from what gut feeling?
Because I'm the same as everyone else in the district. I'm hardworking. I've struggled financially. I have 2 kids in the school system. I feel as though I'm being taxed left and right. And I really believe that people are fed up.
Other than he and his process, is there a single other issue that you're going to be, we only have a minute, you'll be invited back many times, and I'm guessing you'll take Steve Frias on in a debate here or in the radio?
Absolutely not.
You won't?
No. My focus is getting through the primary and moving forward and getting to the general election.
You're not going to discuss issues with the opponent in the primary?
No. There's no need.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Why?
Because you're running against him.
In a primary, it's not a general election.
People have to decide who are
absolutely do.
Voting in that
and
primary.
Steve can go out and he can walk his district the same as me, and he can talk to people about the issues, and I can walk my district and talk to people about the issues. I can come here and I can talk about the issues, but I'm not going to debate him.
It's not often that I get thrown on this program. Well, interesting. This whole darn political season has been interesting, and you're making it even more. I wish you the best of luck, and you will be invited back many times. Thanks for joining me. Sorry, Steve, no debate anywhere. Be right back. I'm still kind of, you will debate the Speaker of the House.
Of course I will.
But you won't debate your Republican opponent.
No.
That's your own instinct. Nobody gave you that advice.
You're absolutely right.
So, doggone it, there you have it. This will create a conversation. People don't stump me very often. Hey, we have Little League coaches tomorrow, and they're not debating, I promise you. They're not debating either. They're with Shawna. I'll see you on the radio at 3. Bye.